You are going to want to stay tuned throughout this video, not only because we have an amazing guest lined up for you, but because you have the opportunity to get an exclusive deal with Headsweats partner Ultima Replenisher. A code will be mentioned at the end of this interview, so this is me giving you guys the official heads up to watch out for that and stay tuned. So right now I'm waiting on my other live interviewee, Taylor Lawless, to join the call and get her talking with us. So just hold on, quick second, take your time, and let's see if we can get her on.
Hello.
Hi, Taylor. All right. So hi, team, and welcome to the new Headsweats Live interview series. My name is Megan Sharp, and I'm the social media and community manager for Headsweats. I'm currently sporting the awesome and epic Crusher hat, which comes in a variety of fun designs. I personally love to go camping and hiking, and this hat, I just stick it in my back pocket. When I need it, I just pop it back out, put it on, and it's a really all-around awesome product to have on hand. I highly suggest it to anyone who loves to go on adventures or just be outside. But today, I'll be chatting with one of our beloved Headsweats ambassadors, Taylor Lawless, who is a registered dietitian nutritionist. Taylor, thank you so much for joining us, and go ahead and introduce yourself. And I'm sure everyone would love to hear more about your background and experience.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you guys for having me. I'm a huge Headsweats fan. I'm a registered dietitian, but I wear a lot of hats, including these. During the day I work at a cancer center, but on the evenings and weekends I work as a dietitian with athletes, mostly cross-country runners, and I also write in my free time. I didn't always know I wanted to go into nutrition. It just kind of happened. Basically, there was this one year during high school when everyone in my family seemed to have issues come up, and holidays are really big for us. We all get together and there's like 30 people a night for a week. It's pretty chaotic. And all of a sudden there was heart disease, there was like diabetes, there was several new allergies, and eating was totally different. And I found I really enjoyed trying to find different things that everyone could eat. And so I realized I was interested in nutrition and went to school and wanted to go the medical route. And I started off with biology, and then I was like, wait, why not study food, because I love to eat? And
Yeah.
I ended up becoming a dietitian. So that's kind of how I got into nutrition. And then, in my internship, I got really interested in working with my cancer patients because I saw it as fueling them through their journeys, like they were athletes almost, like making sure they can get through like all of their treatments all right. And the complexity intrigued me, but it was the same complexity that drew me to athletes. And I always knew I wanted to work with athletes, being a runner myself. So once I got settled down in my job, then I started working more with athletes as well.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Taylor. But before addressing any of the upcoming topics we're going to cover, I want to let everyone watching know that you guys are welcome to ask Taylor any questions you have throughout the interview, and we will try to answer what we can at the end if we have time. But that being said, Taylor, is there anything you'd like the viewers to keep in mind throughout this chat?
Yes. So basically, we're just kind of talking about broad nutrition, general recommendations. What I recommend for an individual varies on a lot of factors, like if they have any other health risks, if they have, certain financial situations or religious things, or there's just so many things that go into nutrition recommendations. So if these general guidelines don't fit you, don't panic, because they might not be perfect for you. It's about finding someone to work with and making the perfect plan for you.
Yeah, perfect advice, honestly. So, okay, well, let's go ahead and jump on into it. So what are some of the most common mistakes athletes make when they're fueling up?
One of the main ones that I see are just not taking nutrition seriously. A lot of people just don't think about it. But if you think about putting food into your body as putting gas in a car, your body's going to break down pretty quick if you don't put enough fuel into it. When it comes to, really honing in onto your nutrition, that's like tune-ups, like getting good tires and doing oil changes. And that's what makes you go further and faster and stronger. And so that's really important as well. So even though you might be eating enough to keep going, are you doing enough to recover optimally? So a lot of people just kind of underestimate how much nutrition can really impact their game. And one of the other things is underfueling. A lot of people, because it's huge here in America, we have so many people who are trying to lose weight, that people who are at a healthy weight and really active, they often get bombarded with this diet culture stuff too. So they get sucked into buying low fat and low calorie things and trying different diets that they might not necessarily need to at that time. And so diet culture can be something that makes athletes underfuel. And it's easy to fall prey to. I mean, when I was running in college, I was doing this like 7-mile loop as part of my weekly routine. And I had a pretty small like lunch that I was doing. I was doing soup or something I could pack into my bag real quick for a class. And I'd like to make it easy. So I was like, well, hopefully it'll be enough. And I was doing this loop, and week after week, I would just crash like halfway through the run, and I would jog back and just wonder why. And so luckily I figured it out, being a nutrition major at the time. And just by adding a little bit of, I think I added crackers to the soup, like a bunch of crackers, and then I added, some carbs to the other meal too. I was able to run faster. My weight didn't go up. That was my concern at the time in college. And, it was okay. So a lot of people end up underfueling rather than eating too much. Yeah, and then I guess the other things would be supplements, like possibly taking too many supplements or, too few depending on the situation. And then the other one would be just not hydrating, especially this time of year.
Yeah. So since you mentioned poor hydration, how does proper hydration impact performance, and what simple steps can athletes take to properly make this a reality?
Yeah. So hydration is really, really important too. People don't think about it too much, because, you just drink when you're thirsty and that's enough. But it's not always enough for athletes. And what they found in studies is that as little as like a 2% decrease in your hydration status can actually make you slower. So in the study, they had different athletes run a race fueled and run it, without water, not fueled and fasted, but hydrated and dehydrated. And they actually were 6 to 7% slower when they were dehydrated. And like 6 to 7% on a test doesn't sound like a big deal, but when you're in a race, like if you're in a 5K, being 6 to 7% slower can literally be seconds. It can be the difference between, first place and 10th place. And if you're running a marathon or biking a marathon, or not biking a marathon, but, like biking really far or something like that, then it also can literally add minutes to your time. So it's very
crucial.
Yeah, especially where you are in Colorado, people get dehydrated all the time. The altitude
Very easily, and then altitude sickness really sinks in. So
it gets people really, really quick. So being hydrated makes a big difference. Usually I recommend, carrying like a water bottle with you. I carry this like huge one. I try and drink at least like 2 of those a day to start. The recommendations, they always say, drink 8-ounce glasses a day, and that's a good start, but it's not necessarily enough. That recommendation is actually for sedentary adults, which Headsweats people are not typically very sedentary. They're sweating, they're losing a lot of fluids. So while that's a good start, it's usually not enough. So usually I say get that 8-ounce glasses, and then add maybe another liter or 2 liters, so maybe double that. And if you're a larger person, you might need even more. It really depends a lot on size and how much you're sweating. But keep in mind, these recommendations for fluid, they include your food. So even if it's like, oh my gosh, I can't drink that much, your coffee counts in the morning, your tea counts, bowls of soup count, fruits and vegetables help hydrate you. So it's not just all plain water.
Okay, yeah, great. Well, some athletes are super unaware of the term recovery nutrition. I know you mentioned it earlier, but especially if they just started their training journey, can you give a little bit of an overview of what this means and maybe some of your personal insight into the importance of this for athletes?
Yeah, definitely.
Mhm.
So with the recovery nutrition, a lot of people think about fueling up for their workout. So before they go bike or climb or whatever, they'll carb up, but they don't really think about what it matters to eat after. The reason it is important is because you need to replenish your glycogen stores. So I'll kind of get nerdy in the nutrition for a second. So
That's awesome.
the glycogen is our way of storing, carbs and sugar in our body, and we store it in two places. Mostly, we store it in our livers and our muscles. So we break down whatever carbs we eat into sugar, and then which is glucose in our bodies, and then that glucose is stored as glycogen. So when we're working out, our body uses up those stores. It's important within an hour of working out to replace those carbs, and that's why they often say drink a sports drink right after, or do different like just a meal within an hour or a couple hours, because you need to replenish those stores. If it gets too low, what you'll find is you'll get really tired mid-workout, or mostly just not getting the gains that you earned because you work so hard in your workout, that if you don't fuel up afterwards, then you're just not going to get the full benefit that you could. So it'll make you kind of slower in the long term. And then also protein too. So you definitely need to get protein after your recovery, or with your recovery meal too. And
Yeah.
that's to rebuild the muscle. A lot of endurance athletes often overlook protein because they just focus on carbs so much, but they're using their muscles too. They have to repair and grow. The other thing is blisters, which are a huge thing. I know it sounds a little silly, but with protein, you're literally regrowing and repairing tissue. So you need enough
Mhm.
protein in your system to grow that skin back together. So you are a really intense athlete and also injury prone, you really, really need protein.
Well, on that note, do you have any like suggested foods that people can kind of take a handle of now?
Yeah, yeah. So it depends on the time of the day, although I'm someone who will eat like dinner food for breakfast. But like burrito bowls can be a really good option. So you get the rice for carbs, you get beans for protein and carbs, you can throw on extra meat for protein, and then of course, tons of veggies and salsa on top of that. That's a good option. A big fan of loaded oatmeal. I call it loaded because I like to load it up with protein as well, or like dry fruit and nuts, to make sure that you're getting all of the calories and the vitamins and the minerals that you need to replenish and recover. Uh,
Mhm.
Smoothies are a good option because you can put fruits and vegetables in there. Peanut butter and jelly is good because it travels really well. And it's got the protein, it's got the carbs, it's got healthy fats. So, stuff like that can be really good options, or just plain old like chicken, rice, and vegetables, or meat or fish, rice, and vegetables. That'll do the trick too.
Yeah, I definitely like all of those foods. I'm a special fan of the burrito bowls, so I'm really glad to hear that. But let's go ahead and move on to the topic of supplements. Is this important for athletes specifically in their training to kind of implement?
Um, yes and no, because they can be important to get certain supplements, and there's a lot of different kinds. I don't know if you can hear my dog whining. It's thunder and lightning here, so it's
No worries, you're good. All understandable. We're dog people, so
that's perfect. I love the Baxter hats that you guys have, the little ones. The sugar
definitely
square.
awesome.
It looks like, which is why I ended up getting that. But
Hmm.
some people need the supplements, but ideally we'll get our nutrients through our diets, and that works most of the time if you can have a perfect diet. But because of genetics and our environments, like how much sunlight you're getting, it's not always possible to get everything through your diet. So I guess mostly it depends for each person if you need it or not. So protein supplements can be really useful if you're not a meat fan. Protein drinks can take you to the next level because they'll help you to rebuild your tissue and recover and repair. Vitamins and minerals, very important for our cells to function and grow and everything. But there can be too much of a good thing too. So it's just a matter of taking it easy and figuring out which one works best for you.
All right. Well, can you also give a couple of suggestions of supplements that you would say people need to take more of?
Yeah. So I'm used to patients showing up with like grocery bags of what supplements they're taking. So, some of them can be really good and some supplements can change your life. But the ones I most often see people being low in would be vitamin D, B12, and iron. So, vitamin D we get from the sun. So, a lot of athletes are out in the sun all the time, and that's great. Vitamin D really doesn't come in a lot of foods. You'll get it in some mushrooms, which is great. You'll get it in like certain types of fish and things like that. They'll add it to like milk, and they'll add it to orange juice. And the reason they add it to milk is because the calcium is in the milk, and the vitamin D helps you to absorb that, which is why vitamin D is good for bone health. But mostly, people are low in this country. I mean, over 50% of the country is low in vitamin D. Um, Myself too, I live in Florida. I run outside all the time, and I went and got my vitamin D levels checked, and you want it to be above 30, that's borderline. Mine was 27, so mine was already too low, even though I'm outside all the time. But the Olympic Committee, with their standards, for like athletes who are competitive, they want it much higher. So ideally, you want it somewhere between 40 and 60. So I had to start supplementing. It's totally normal. So a lot of athletes can benefit from adding vitamin D. The other thing would be the B12 that I talked about. You can
Mm-hmm.
get through animal products, so like meat and eggs and dairy, and it's in there. But even a lot of meat eaters or people who eat animal products, they can be low too. I most often see people who don't eat a lot of meat lower with vitamin D. Luckily, that's
Mm-hmm.
an easy fix because you can just get a little pill that melts under your tongue, and it fixes it very, very quickly. But the side effects of low vitamin D, if you have it, you might just be super tired all the time. So with my plant-based patients, what I often see when they do get low vitamin D is, or sorry, vitamin B12. Um, it's not immediate. It's after a couple years of following that lifestyle. If they don't supplement in that time, they just get really tired and they don't know why. And they're eating healthfully, like they're eating really good, but it's because that nutrient's not in their diet. Um, and then for,
Gotcha.
yeah, it's an easy one to supplement with though, and it tastes like cherry most of the time. So if you like cherry flavor, it's not bad.
Yeah.
And then I guess the other one would be iron. So a lot of women are low in iron because of menstruation, but iron is also very low in endurance athletes. So swimmers and bikers and runners, they often get low iron because of all the hard work and time they're putting in. So by just supplementing with iron, if you need to, or just by focusing on iron-rich foods like, um, you know, beef or white rice is fortified, or beans is really good for iron. Greens can be very good for iron. And just focusing on getting those essential nutrients that are often low in endurance athletes can be really helpful.
Okay, well, awesome. I didn't know most of that, so that's really exciting to hear. But moving forward, some athletes find that they end up losing a bunch of energy, and I know you touched on this a little bit, but at the end of their long workouts, what do you suggest to help combat this?
Yeah. So, like I said before, it can partially be because of like glycogen depletion, so just not having enough, energy stored up in your body by not fueling up and doing adequate recovery meals. That can be a big part of it. But
Mhm.
some people, it can, be overtraining as well. So it's a combination with that not replenishing and overtraining combination of when you're just getting like super into marathon mode, or you're trying to train for like a cross country biking thing, and you're just focusing more on the training aspect than the nutrition aspect, you can often get really low. Um, People who do really long workouts too, and don't really think about fueling up during the workouts can often crash. So if you're working out more than an hour, you probably want to take something with you, perhaps like an energy gel. And it's also important to make sure you're getting enough electrolytes too. So, you can hydrate with water mixed with electrolytes like the Ultima Replenisher. That works really good. It's
Yeah.
6 electrolytes in it, which is wonderful. So you can just mix that up, and some people carry the hydration packs with them. Other people like to carry a water bottle.
Mhm.
I'm a big fan of my hydration backpack
You know,
personally.
I'm a big fan of hydration packs. So,
They are such a game changer, and they have really cool
Mhm.
ones now too. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, by really fueling up during your workout if it's longer than an hour, and making sure that in general you have good nutrition going into your workouts, that will help prevent that bonking that happens.
Yeah. And can you, for those who are tuned in and don't know, can you explain what bonking is?
Yes, so bonking is basically a term for, when you're going, it's like hitting the wall. So when you're working out really hard and all of a sudden you just lose steam completely. Um, so we don't want that happening. You especially don't want it happening during your races. So by fueling up adequately, you can prevent that from happening and keep on going.
Yeah, definitely great. But so Taylor, what's like one thing an athlete should start doing right now to properly eat for performance?
So, in general, if you're just kind of starting from square one, I would say just mostly start eating real food. So, if your diet is very processed and you're not eating a whole lot of, vegetables and fruits and like lean proteins, start off by food that's from nature. Don't worry about extra supplements and things until you start eating just food. And once you have food in your diet, then you can work on, optimizing how good it is, but you really want to have the core of your diet be just food that you can recognize where it came from.
Okay, great. So is there one diet that's better than the other?
Yeah, I get that question all the time. Basically, with diets and which one is the best, you want to look at, oh my goodness, it just tried to jump up. So, which diet is the best? There's just so many out there. There's like South Beach and keto and paleo and Mediterranean and heart healthy, and they all have different benefits. But the best diet is one that you can keep long term. Because when I think of diet, I think back to like grade school, and they're like, the diet of a lion is meat, the diet of a gorilla is vegetables. And that's what our diets are too. It's just what we eat. And so, what can you eat long term to fuel your body? It has to be something that you can afford. It has to be something that's within your, religion or ethical, basis. It's got to
Yeah.
agree with you on a lot of different levels. So your diet should just be something that you can live with and that your family can live with, or whoever you're eating with. Because when your diet's just so different from everyone that you eat with, it's really hard to keep long term. So as far as which one is better, I tell people more to like kind of look at them from a distance and notice all the similarities rather than the differences. Like if you look at vegan diets and heart healthy diets and paleo diet, some might have meat and different fats, but at their base they're vegetables. Like they're mostly vegetables, and
Mhm.
they are you know, just getting real foods in. So that's why, like I said before, just start with real foods, and then you can expand past that and choose, which different, fats and proteins to add and stuff like that. But if you start with real food, then you can tailor it and see if you want to pick one of those diets. But in general, real food will get you there.
Okay, great advice. Well, lastly, I have to ask what your favorite Headsweats product is.
Yes, my truckers. I have a bunch of these in different colors. This I think is my first one that I had. I get asked about it all the time still, and I've had it for like 5 years. I don't know. It lasts in the ocean. I don't recommend wearing hats in the ocean often, except head sweats. You can like wash it. It holds up, and because of the mesh in the back, I got a lot of hair, and so it keeps me from over.
Same.
Yeah, yeah, it really makes a big difference to have that kind of mesh. So those are my favorite.
Yeah, definitely helpful. Well, that's all the questions I really had for you today, Taylor. Thank you so much for sharing your insights with the Headsweats community. I hope you guys all enjoyed it, but I know that I've really learned a ton. And a big thanks goes out to all of you guys who tuned in today. And as promised, please feel free to use code HS20. Again, that's HS20 to receive 20% off your next purchase of any Ultima replenisher products. I didn't see too many questions come through. Please add a tennis themed mask line. We're getting there. Everything's coming out slowly. We actually did just release a smaller size mask, which is great for kids. I have a smaller face. I know a lot of women do, and it's always awesome. So it's great to see everyone. I'm glad everyone got to tune in, but, all right, that is all we have time for today, unfortunately. But Taylor, thank you again for joining the Team Headsweats and sharing your knowledge. I certainly learned a lot and hope you guys did too. Our time is up, but I want you all to know that you can rewatch this interview on Instagram TV or on the Headsweats YouTube channel. Taylor will be making all of this information super available to you guys in the following weeks by adding it to the Headsweats blog. So keep an eye on all the Headsweats social, and we'll update you for when that is out. But that is it for today. Taylor, you rock, and so does everyone who took the time to listen to this video. And it's the first Instagram Live interview for Headsweats. So I'm glad you guys all came in, but if you would like to work with Taylor, you can find her at thexcrd.com, or she has an amazing Instagram where she shares a lot of nutrition tips for athletes, and that's at thexcrd. So go give her a follow. But other than that, you guys remember to always keep a cool head with Headsweats, and we'll see you next time. I'm Megan Sharp, and Headsweats for life. Thank you guys all so much.
Thank you.